Hi, my name is Scott. I'm a CPA and attorney. I entered public accounting in 1974. I started practicing law in 1986. I worked for 7.5 years with 3 of the then Big 8 accounting firms, Coopers & Lybrand, Arthur Young, and Price Waterhouse. I switched to a national law firm as a senior manager at Price Waterhouse when I left them. Subsequently, I started my own practice. I currently have a law practice and an accounting practice in Boothbay Harbor, Maine. I specialize in tax, financial, corporate planning, corporate law, estate planning. I currently have 6 employees and am here for my CPE. As a CPA, 2 CPAs, and as an attorney, I know a lot of us have a fear of losing significant clients. I will say this, I don't believe that you need to have that fear, because I think there's more clients out there that are looking for quality than you can shake a stick at. The key is to market to them and how to market to them. And one of the things that I did and continue to do when I started my practice was to put myself out in a marketing situation without it being seen as a marketing situation. As an example, I don't join the Lions Club or the Rotary Club or clubs of businessmen. I really don't think that generates business. What I do is I try to allow myself to have speaking engagements whenever possible on a freebie basis in many cases. As a tax lawyer, there's always changes in the tax laws. If you advertise or tell your clients you're going to have a seminar for your clients in changes in the tax law, and for them to bring a friend, you'll fill a 60-person room in no time. Cost is coffee and donuts. You'll pick up 1 new client for almost every client that you invite to this. It's on a invite only. And you wind up expanding your practice because they're impressed with the fact that you're doing this on a freebie basis. I've tried newsletters. I don't find that as effective. I think the face-to-face, hands-on, the ability to talk to your clients on a client-by-client basis, generate questions from them, have them bring friends, is the best way in the world to market on topics that you understand and like to talk about. It takes courage and confidence to start a practice or to maintain a practice. It takes leadership to continue a practice, and that leadership goes to leading your clients, leading your staff, making the right decisions. When I meet with a prospective new client, I try to do it in my office. I am very casual in my office. I wear jeans constantly. I never wear a suit and tie. But I bring them into the office to introduce them to the staff. I make the assumption that they will become clients, and therefore I introduce them to all the staffs as they walk in, even before they get to my office. I try to be very straightforward with them. I have certain standards that I want my clients to meet, just as they have standards that they want me to meet. I spend about 2 hours at no charge to them, and I tell them when they come in it's at no charge to them, getting to know them and for them getting to know me. If at the end of that 2 hours they like what they see and I like what I see, we then enter into the client relationship. But they have an opportunity to talk to me about any questions they want. I invite them to bring their past returns in or any estate questions that they have. I give them free advice. That advice, of course, is not as detailed as it would be if we actually get into it, but it's enough to let them know that I'm interested in what their questions are. During that initial interview, I make sure that the client understands what I expect and how I conduct my practice for them. For example, I tell them that I need to meet with them at least twice during the year in order for me to do my job for them effectively. I tell them up front what my billing rates are. I take a retainer with every new client. I have an engagement letter. People come to me with the idea of getting straightforward advice in an honest and candid manner. I think that starts with making sure they understand what the billing arrangements are and what we expect of each other. It works, and I've never had a dissatisfied client. In putting a presentation together, I try to focus on something that I like. My very first, when I first started practice, I liked real estate. I invested in real estate. I had a number of clients that did it. I got with a local apartment owners association, people that own small apartments in real estate that they rented. I volunteered to speak to them about the tax advantages and disadvantages, some of the new changes in laws. I have never been affiliated with using the computer or the PowerPoint a lot, so I did this personally, and I set up an outline which I printed out and handed out, just the talking points, and then we had an open seminar lasting about 3 hours. I had them barrage me with questions that then I tried to answer, some of which were tax questions, some of which were practical questions, collecting rents, doing the types of things that you have to do. That generated a follow-up seminar and a follow-up seminar and a follow-up seminar. And ultimately, I think out of those Saturday morning presentations, I probably picked up 60 clients in my first year of practice. Many of us have fears of getting up in public and speaking. That was brought home to me when I first was in public accounting. I went from Florida, that has no state taxation, to Oregon, which has state taxation. My partner came in, told me I was going to a seminar on state taxation in Washington, and by the way, I'd be the instructor. I explained to him that I had only been in Oregon 2 months. I didn't know anything about state taxation. He pointed to me the library. He said, "You're going to be teaching senior accountants with the Washington State CPA Society on state taxation. Prepare yourself." I realized I worked like crazy to prepare myself, but I also realized that when you get up in a group of people, if you know a little bit more than they know about it, and you open the conversation in what I consider the Socratic method by bringing other people's input in, you become more of a ball handler, handing it off to the audience, letting the audience interact. You learn as much as you try to give them, and it becomes easier and easier and easier. And after a while, speaking becomes very natural. I also find that marketing in a non-marketing sense helps a great deal. As an example, you're at a cocktail party, and you have an individual that you meet that is in a specific industry. Sometimes a comment that, well, I'm sure people in your industry are concerned about the new changes in the tax law that are going to affect that. I would be too. And then you leave it. It begs the question, what changes are you referring to? That type of marketing, you set the hook, they come back to you, and you say, here's my card, why don't we have lunch and we can sit down and talk about it. By the time you have lunch, you're fully prepared to answer his questions, and you pick up a client. I picked up my very first client 31 years ago, and I still have that client today. There's one other important aspect of running a practice that I believe in, and that is setting standards. Setting standards for yourself, setting standards for your staff, setting standards for your clients. My father once told me that every morning you have to look at yourself in the mirror, and every night you're the last one that you see before you go to bed. And you have to be pleased with what you see, and you have to live up to your standards, otherwise you disappoint yourself. I also learned in the service that you lead from the front, not from the back. You have to set the example for your staff, but you also have to have standards for your staff, just as you do for your clients. And I think that maintaining a set of standards, maintaining a corporate identity, or in the case of a small practice identity, is what your clients come back to you for and rely on you for. You don't have to wear a suit and tie. My cat is in the office with me every day, sits on the desk, listens to all our client comments just as if he's one of the staff, and they love it. So I have clients that come by just to pet the cat. But the standards are important, and because of that, change is also important. You need to be able to identify both positives and negatives in your staff and make changes rapidly. Don't let it go too far to where they start to damage the practice. Same thing with clients. Culling clients is good once in a while. If you have a client that is so high maintenance that you don't enjoy working with them, you shouldn't have that client. And you're probably doing yourself and them a service by saying, maybe you should go someplace else. And you can do it a nice way. You don't have to fire them. You just have to say that you think that their needs go beyond what you want and get rid of them that way, so you don't antagonize anybody. But I think change is important, and I think maintaining standards are important. The only time that in my career that I've been dissatisfied is when I've lowered my standards or not followed my intuition in doing something that I basically felt was right, because ultimately it had to be done anyway, and it was more painful at that point. You get smarter as you get older, and you follow your intuition more. Follow your intuition early. Professional to professional. One of the hardest things to do is to let a client go intentionally. If you've got clients that you're not happy working with, when they pick up the phone, you kind of cringe before you talk. that they antagonize your staff or that they antagonize you, that they're always whining about a fee or a bill or complaining about something, you will be happier by letting that client go. And the one thing about vacuums is they always get filled. The hardest thing when you start out in practice is recognizing your own value. So my recommendation is do not undervalue yourself. Make sure that you bill yourself at least what the going rate is around you for what you do. Why? Otherwise your clients will see you as less than your competition, and you're marketing yourself as good as or better. So keep your fees high. Change your fees whenever the fees go up around you. You want to stay with or above the average rate because you're selling quality. You're selling your own confidence in yourself. Recognize that if you have a client that you do not enjoy working with, you should not be working with them. If you had a car that wasn't reliable or that you didn't like driving, you'd sell the car and get a new one. Vacuums fill automatically, and if you are quality and you sell yourself well, you'll have more clients than you could ever possibly utilize.